Hey there, I'm Paul Rabelais, an estate planning attorney and founder of the estate planning law firm called America's Estate Planning Lawyers, which helps people across the country get and keep their estate legal affairs in order. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to start working with an estate planning attorney. So you'll start by clicking either the link in the description below or a button on our website, www.aeplawyers.com. That will take you to this page, which you can complete in a matter of seconds or perhaps 3 or 4 minutes, depending on your situation. The purpose of this intake form is to allow you to give us clarity about both your circumstances and what you're hoping to accomplish with a customized estate planning legal program. To save a few seconds, I entered the basic contact information for a hypothetical person named Fred Flintstone. Fred is approaching retirement and he knows he needs to get his legal affairs in order. Fred answers basic questions like, are you married? Do you have children? Fred then checks off the areas of concern that he would like to address as part of his estate plan. I'll take a moment and briefly explain why each of these checkboxes are displayed. So Fred here says, yes, I have a spouse. Her name is Wilma. I'd like to provide for her. So he checks that. Fred and Wilma have a child, so he wants to provide for the child. Here it says appoint people to oversee the settling of my estate. Yes, most people want to designate often a spouse or perhaps one or more of the adult children or perhaps a third party to oversee that settling of the estate, either as an executor of a will or a successor trustee of a living trust. Fred looks at this one and says, do I want to prevent one or more beneficiaries from inheriting in one large lump sum? Fred goes back and forth on that one, but he leaves that one alone because he thinks he did a good job raising his son. His son is now a mature adult, so he doesn't have to prevent his child from getting access to the inheritance. Avoid the 40% federal tax on estates exceeding $6 million. The exemption now is much higher than that, but it's going to be cut in half in 2026. Fred says, yeah, you know what, I better look into that. Here is something really every adult needs to do is arrange their legal affairs so that if at some point during the rest of your lifetime, you can't sign on your accounts, handle your IRA, sell a piece of property that you have, sell your home, sell a vehicle, you want to make sure you designate someone, and maybe Fred would appoint his wife first, maybe his adult child as the backup. So he definitely wants to do that. Fred knows he's not getting any younger and he's had a few health issues, and he does want to make it easy for his wife and his child and perhaps even others to be able to access medical records, talk to doctors just in case Fred ever can't do that for himself. Fred doesn't want to burden his family of having to make the difficult decision to withdraw life support if Fred's in that vegetative state with no chance of recovery, so he checks that. Fred also, when Fred's father died, there was a difficult probate process that took a couple of years. It was expensive. It caused some stress within the family. So Fred would like to arrange his legal affairs so that court and attorney involved probate process is avoided. And that typically involves setting up that revocable living trust, which we do for so many folks. Does Fred want to make sure that his children's inheritance is protected in the event his child or children get divorced? Yeah, that's something that Fred thinks it's important. And then last one here, not an issue for Fred because he doesn't have any minor children. His child or children are grown, so no need to designate a guardian for minor children. So that is where, again, Fred, we take time management very seriously. We want to make the best use of your time and our time. So the more we can do and gather information like this, the better. This next box is really important. This is where Fred gets to describe the particular circumstances that he wants to address as part of his overall estate plan. And maybe he says, I want to, let me fix that. I want to make sure we avoid probate, and I want to leave $100,000 to each of my grandchildren so to ensure they can get a college education. So that was just what was in Fred's mind. That's really helpful those specifics of what you're trying to accomplish is really important as we review the material that you provide. So then he goes on, and we just ask a couple of more questions. And in general, because sometimes we have to help people title assets correctly, we ask Fred what he owns. And Fred and his wife own a home. They don't have any other real estate. He does have a retirement account from the old rock quarry that he used to work at. He has a few other brokerage accounts. He doesn't own a business, CDs, or life insurance. And then here's where we ask, and this is really a tax-sensitive question because there may or may not be a 40% federal estate tax that will apply when you pass away. And Fred says that his estate is worth $2 to $5 million. How did he hear about America's estate planning lawyers? Maybe he watched one of my YouTube videos. So that there, and then Fred clicks submit, and then we get that information immediately, and we take a look at Fred's intake form, and we look at all of this, and in particular, we look at what he writes in this text box, because we don't want to waste your time if it's not a matter that we handle. For example, if Fred would have written in here, Paul, my mother died, and my sister immediately went into my mom's house and stole her entire Tupperware collection, I want to sue my sister. Well, that's not something we provide. We don't do any of that estate litigation. So when we get intake forms and inquiries like that, in order to make the best use of everyone's time, we can let you know fairly quickly, hey, this is, you may need to see someone else to get those legal services that you're desiring. Our business is more taking people and get them early in the planning stage and help them set things up so that these types of problems don't happen when somebody passes away. So we get that information, we immediately process it, and then when it's a good use of your time and our time for us to have a conversation, we send you a link to either my calendar or a calendar link to one of the attorneys that I work with, and you immediately get your initial no-cost Zoom meeting scheduled. You schedule that with our calendaring software, and then we typically see you just a couple or a few days later on that Zoom call to start honing in on your specific concerns that you'd like to address. During that Zoom conference, we'll ask you the important questions. We'll listen to your answers. We'll ask you the next important question so that we can structure things in a way that we can figure out the easiest way possible to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So hope that helps. Sometimes people procrastinate and they're getting started. This is just, I want to show you how easy it is to get started. Click the link in the description below, and we'll see you on the Zoom call.